look at this page right here, this first question, number 1, was your bell work question. Okay? So the first thing you have to do is when you see a sentence is you have to write it as an equation, not solve it. Then you solve it after you write it. So that's the first step. So if you remember, we've done things very similar to this back in our expressions unit. We talked about keywords. What's the key word you see in this sentence? Product. What does product mean?
Multiply.
Multiply. And what am I multiplying together? A number and -7. What does number mean? Variable. Do I care what variable you choose? No, you can pick any variable you want. So I am multiplying together a variable and -7. I don't care how you write that as long as you're telling me that it's a variable times -7. I will always write the number first and the variable right next to it. I will always write it that way. I want you guys to try and get in that habit, but as long as you're writing down that it's a multiplication problem, that's all that's necessary. That part there is nothing new, right guys? We did that in our expressions unit. What was just added on now? So what do you think is another key word? Is. What do you think is means? And it equals what? So anytime you see is and a number, is equal, and it's equal to whatever that number is. Then you can take it over to the other side and solve it. Which means I draw my upside down T. I still want to get n all by itself. What do I do to get n all by itself? Divide by that -7. The -7's go away, and I'm left with n equals 63 divided by -7, which is -9. So the only difference between what I've already taught you and equations is now we add on the equal part, and we solve it. Where with expressions, we couldn't solve it, right guys? Mm-hmm. So if you guys flip back in your notebook to your expressions unit, unit 4, look for mine is green, so it's the lime green sheet of paper, and it says keywords and phrases on it. All of these keywords and phrases are all the keywords and phrases that you will see in today and part of tomorrow's lesson, okay? So this is a really good page for you guys to refer back to. Use it as needed. I did add in this little part just now off to the side where it says is means equal to. I know that looks a little weird. So is means equals to. I just can't write my S's today, apparently. So is means equal to. Oh, there's mine. Any questions about that, guys? Okay, let's go back to our other page. But use that page as needed. So if you want to like mark it somehow, put a bookmark there, put a pencil there, I don't care, but it's there for your guys' usage. So let's go to number 2. So circle the keywords, box them in, whatever you need to do. What are my keywords? Subtracted from and? Okay, I'm not going to circle number, but I am going to underline number. But then my other keyword that I should circle, we've said it, is what? Is. I almost always start with the is because that gets rid of one of my numbers right away and gets rid of part of the sentence. So what does is mean again, everyone? And it's equal to what? So that means that I can get rid of this is 15, and now I just see 10 subtracted from a number. And that is part doesn't get confusing or mess me up with the rest of it. So I have 10 subtracted from a number. What does subtracted from mean? What operation? Subtraction. The question is, am I saying 10 minus n, or am I saying n minus 10? Why? Good. Remember, from is that phrase where we flip-flop them around. You are taking 10 away from a number, which means the number has to go first because you're going to take 10 away from whatever that number is. Does that make sense, guys? Then you write it over and you solve it. What am I doing to both sides? I'm adding 10. And n is going to equal what? 25. Questions? Okay, you and your partner write number 3, but don't solve it yet. Just write it. Okay. 8. This is number 8. What'd you guys write? Excellent. 2/5 times the number, whatever variable you chose, equals negative 12. Reason being, I have 2/5. What's my keyword that tells me multiplication, everyone? Of means multiply, so I'm going to take 2/5 times a variable, and then it is equal to negative 12. Everyone solve that for me now. You can solve it with your partner. All right. Number 2. What do you think my answer is? Close. Not 35, but you are close. 11? It is 30. Is it a positive 30 or a negative 30? It is a negative 30. Here is why. Okay? Remember, How do I get rid of this 2/5? And if I'm dividing by 2/5, that's the same thing as what? Multiplying it by 5/2. So when I do that, I have 12 over 1. I can cross cancel. The 12 becomes a what? 2 becomes a what? 6 times 5 is over, which is why it is a -30. Do we all remember that?
Yeah.
If you don't remember the whole multiply by the reciprocal, do the division and then just remember how to divide with fractions. Got it, guys?
Mm-hmm.
It is okay. All right, number 4 is a little weird because what do you see in number 4? You see 8%. Here's the deal. A percentage is not a real number. You get a percent from a what? Decimal or a fraction. You can't write or do math with percentages, so you have to change that percent to either a decimal or a fraction. Do you think I care which one you use? No. If you like fractions better, change it to a fraction. If you'd rather have decimals, change it to a decimal. Someone tell me what is 8% as a decimal? Anyone know? Claire? It is not 0.8, it is 0.08. So if you want to write it as a decimal, you would write 0.08 or 8/100. If you want to write it as a fraction, someone tell me how I'd write it. Aubrey? 8/100. And what could I do with 8/100? Simplify. Braden, what's it simplify to? Not 4/25. You're close. You just did your math wrong. You almost had it. Sophie? What? 4/50 is right, but I can still go farther. Becca? 2/25. All right. With your partner, write that equation. Don't solve it yet. Like I said, I don't care what you use. Okay. 5. How'd you write it? Okay, that's how Becca wrote it. 8/100 times n equals 20. Anyone write it any other way? Leah? Did anyone do any other way? Those are probably the most common ways, right, guys? Whatever way you chose, solve it, please. Go. Alrighty. Number 10. What'd you tell me the answer was? Sorry, what'd you say, sweetie? That is correct. N equals 250. Whatever one you use, that's what you still should have gotten the answer as. Do I have questions on that one? Yes, Gavin. No. I never change their signs. They're both positives. They both stay positive, which means my answer is a positive. If I plugged in a negative, you're saying a positive number times a negative number is a positive.
So it's 2 times n. So we always have to like do the division like that. So you just like always will put 25 over 2.
Yep. Your fraction next to a variable is always a multiplication problem. Yep.
Does it matter if you do like we really want to question that is like 1 is like 17 and a number?
Like a two-step equation?
No, like the answer comes before.
Oh, it totally could.
Okay.
Yep. Nope. No. Nope. Nope, yeah, I could totally flip this around and like on this problem here, I could say -1 is the sum of twice a number and 17. Still get the same thing in the end. Yep, it's just written in front. Great question. Did that make sense, guys? Okay, that's why I always say to start with the is first, because then you get the is and the answer out of the way and can worry about the rest of it. So if we look at number 5, I have my is, and what is my is, everyone? And what's it equal to? So I know right away that my problem is going to be equal to -1, and I can get rid of that and just focus on the rest of it that says the sum of twice a number and 17. I have multiple keywords in this one. What are my keywords? Sum and twice. What does sum mean? Addition, yep. What does twice mean? And what am I multiplying by? But twice means times what? 2. Twice is that very specific one. It's times 2. Well, what am I multiplying by 2? Every single time you see the phrase twice a number, I don't care what it is. If it's twice a number, it's 2 times a variable. Every single time, 100% of the time. And then what did you guys tell me? What's my other operation? And what am I adding? So my problem says 2n plus 17 equals a -1. Do you guys notice that it is the exact same as writing expressions? We just put that equal to part on. Is that making sense? All right, solve it for me. $24. What'd you get for an answer? It is. N equals -9 is correct. Do I have questions on that problem? All right. You and your partner are going to do 6 and 7. You may write and solve. Got it? All right. All right, so let's go over these problems. 18. Tell me how you wrote number 6. Excellent. Why did you not write 9 minus 4 in?
Phrase less than is like the last sentence. And it's like subtraction.
Excellent. So remember that phrase less than is just like subtracted from. You need to flip it. So that's why it is minus 9. And then product means multiply. You're multiplying a number and negative 4, and then it's equal to 35. Perfect. Number 13. What'd you get for the answer? N equals negative 11. Questions on number 6 at all? All right, number 7, 16. How'd you write it?
Number 7, n divided by 3 plus 7 equals 11.
Perfect. So that is how I wrote mine. If you wrote 7 plus n divided by 3 equals 11, is that okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally fine. Remember, I will always write my division problems as fractions. Always. Is it okay to write a division sign? Yes. Okay. Number 4. What was the answer, Kennedy? Perfect. Any questions on number 7? Yes, Gavin.
It's not what I'm talking about, just want to make sure. So when it says quotient and then and for two numbers, is that meaning quotient from those two numbers?
Yep.
Okay.
It all just depends on how it's written. Okay, let's move to purple page. Okay, you and your partner are now going to do numbers 8, 9, and 10. So you may stop after number 10, guys. Here we go. All right, number 8. The difference between half a number and 11 is negative 25. 25, Lucille, that's you, sweetheart. What did you write for that equation? Oh, hold on. I had a hard time hearing you. Apparently you were on my speaker. See if I fixed my sound. Okay, I think I fixed it. Tell me again what you wrote. Excellent. All right, so Lucille wrote n divided by 2 minus 11 equals negative 25. That is correct. There is one other way that you could have written it. Did someone write it the other way? Sophie. Excellent. Remember, multiplying by 1/2 is the exact same thing as dividing by 2. I will accept both answers. Got it? Yeah. You should get the same answer in the end, which is what, number 19?
N equals negative 28.
Perfect. So hopefully you told me n equals negative 28. All right, problem 9, number 23. How did you write that one? Yep. Excellent. So hopefully we all wrote 14 minus n equals 2. This one I have a feeling might have tricked some of you in the answer. 12. What'd you tell me? Positive 12 or negative 12? It is a positive. If you told me a negative, here's where you went wrong. When you solved it, you did this whole thing right? And then you told me negative 12 equals n, correct? But what is n? Which means you have to do what? You then have to divide by a negative 1, which is why it is a positive 12. Does everyone see that? That's where that one tends to trick people. So that's why it's a positive and not a negative. Nicely done, Bennett. Last one I had you guys do was number 10. So 20, how did you write number 10?
3/4 n minus 19.
Excellent. Number 7, what's my answer? Perfect. All right. Any questions so far? All right. We are going to finish these problems up tomorrow at the beginning of class before we move into word problems. Your homework tomorrow is over worksheet 7